The night before everything collapsed, the corridors of the Royal Meridian Hotel were a pulse of dull amber light. Menglong had checked in at 10:23 p.m., alone, with 2 bags and a face that looked already half-erased. At 10:31 p.m., the cameras saw him disappear into room 1414. At 10:35, security guard Chen Bo began his last shift. Chen wasn't a man who frightened easily. 15 years of night duty had taught him that hotels breathe like animals. The hum of vents is their heartbeat, the slow swing of doors their sigh. But that night, the building seemed to breathe backward, every sound drawing in instead of out. He logged into the control desk. 14 monitors blinked alive. In camera 6, the corridor to 1414, Menglong passed once, carrying a paper bag. In camera 7, the elevator lobby, he never appeared again. Blind zone? Chen asked the screen. The screen didn't answer. At 10:47, an alert blinked, door 1414, open. At 10:48, it closed again. No one had entered. Chen leaned closer. The digital clock above the monitor ticked backward, then righted itself. He rubbed his eyes, blamed the flicker of the cheap wiring, and noted the anomaly in his logbook. Possible camera lag. Door event without entry. Then the hallway lights dimmed. By 11 p.m., the hotel lobby was silent except for the vending machine hum. Chen walked his routine rounds, service corridor, linen room, emergency exit, until he reached the 14th floor. The carpet was soft as dust, even his own footsteps sounded distant. At the far end, room 1414's do not disturb tag swayed gently on the handle. He thought about knocking, just protocol, but something in the air pressed against his lungs. The silence wasn't empty, it felt crowded. From inside came a faint electric whine, like an old television left on a dead channel. "Sir? Maintenance check," he said. No reply. He reached for his radio. Static. The screen on his walkie flickered the same timestamp he'd seen earlier, 10:47 p.m. Then, through the thin line of light under the door, a shadow moved. It stopped exactly where his shoes met the threshold, 2 silhouettes overlapping, his and another that wasn't his at all. Downstairs, the CCTV feed began looping. Footage of Chen walking toward room 1414 replayed again and again, each loop slightly different. In one version, the shadow under the door was longer. In another, Chen never arrived. When he returned to the control desk at 11:15, the manager on duty asked, "Everything clear upstairs?" Chen hesitated. "Mostly. The lights on 14 keep." The monitors behind him all blinked to the same frame. Room 1414, inside view. That camera wasn't supposed to exist. He froze. The image showed the hotel room from a corner near the ceiling, a hidden lens. Menglong sat at the edge of the bed, phone pressed to his ear, eyes fixed on the wall mirror. The timestamp, 11:16 p.m. Live. "Sir?" the manager said. But Chen didn't answer. On screen, Menglong mouthed something, one syllable, then looked directly into the lens. The feed cut to black. By midnight, Chen's log entries turned erratic, handwriting crooked, ink smeared. "He looked at me." "No, he looked through me. There is someone else in the room now." At 12:03 a.m., the elevator registered an unkeyed descent from the 14th floor to the basement. No one visible inside. At 12:06, the basement camera caught the elevator doors open to an empty shaft. That was the last entry of Chen Bo's shift. The next morning, housekeeping found the control room deserted, monitors still looping the same 10-second clip, the corridor outside 1414, timestamp frozen at 10:47 p.m. Chen's uniform jacket hung on the chair. His ID card was inside the pocket, still warm. The hotel denied everything. They said the security feed corrupted after a power outage. They said Chen never worked that night. Yet his name remained in the duty roster, circled in red. When the footage leaked weeks later, investigators noticed something new, a faint reflection in the polished door handle of room 1414. It showed 2 faces. One was Chen's. The other was Menglong's, standing behind him, though by then Menglong had been dead for 7 hours. I tracked down the only surviving backup of the hotel's data logs, stored on an external drive marked Incident Archive number 47. The file labeled 1414_AUD.wave began with a soft tap, like a knock, then a distorted male voice. "Scene continuation in progress. Do not interfere." Behind it, faint breathing. Then another voice, hoarser, weaker. I never left the room. I found Chin 2 months later in a psychiatric ward outside Suzhou. He agreed to talk if I kept the lights dim. You saw the feed? He asked. Yes. Then you saw him look up? I did. He nodded slowly. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at me. The lens was just where our eyes met. He rubbed his wrists where faint burns traced the skin. When the phone rang in that morgue, he whispered, it wasn't the first time. It rang that night too. Inside the room. Same tone, same timestamp. Did you go in? No. I didn't need to. He came out. He stared at the corner of the room as if someone still stood there. He walked right past me, but his shadow stayed behind. The hospital granted me 10 minutes with the original CCTV server before it was sealed for evidence. On its drive, I found a hidden partition named /continuity_1414/. Inside, one video. No date, no length. I played it. The first frame showed an empty hallway. Then the camera panned by itself toward room 1414. The door opened, light spilling out. Menglong stood there holding a phone. But behind him, a figure in a guard's uniform, Chin Bo, was already inside the room, watching him. The camera kept panning until it faced the mirror. In that reflection, both men were gone. Only the phone remained, ringing. That night, my own hotel room phone rang twice, no caller ID, same 2:47 a.m. tone from the morgue story. I recorded it. The playback showed an unexpected echo, my voice, seconds delayed, whispering the same questions I had just asked. When I emailed the sound clip to the forensics lab, they replied within the hour. This isn't an echo. It's a duplicate source, slightly ahead of your own waveform, as if recorded before you spoke. Weeks later, the Royal Meridian closed its top 3 floors for renovation. Workers reported finding new doors behind wallpaper, unnumbered, opening into unfinished hallways that shouldn't exist in the blueprint. One of those doors was marked with fresh paint, 1414B. In its center lay a single security badge. Nameplate burned away, barcode intact. When scanned, it linked to a non-existent employee file, ID 0000, continuity active. The investigation should have ended there. But a week before publication, a package arrived at my office, no return address, postmark blurred. Inside was a USB stick labeled Final Shift. The video began in black. Then Chen's voice. He asked me to keep watch until the next scene. The frame brightened slowly, showing a corridor, not the hotel, but somewhere underground, walls made of concrete. A door at the end flickered with the number 1414 stenciled in white. Someone approached, humming a tune that glitched like corrupted audio. The camera tilted just enough to catch a reflection on the doorknob. It was me. When I paused the video, my office lights dimmed. The phone on my desk buzzed once, an unknown number. The timestamp, 10:47 p.m. I didn't answer. I watched the video again. This time, the reflection in the doorknob smiled before the screen went dark. The file auto-deleted itself after playback, leaving only a new folder titled /next_shift/ with a single text document inside. Continuity confirmed. Do not cut. Some nights, I still receive motion alerts from the old hotel's security server, though it's been decommissioned. Each alert shows the same frame, the empty corridor, the swinging Do Not Disturb tag, and, faintly, a figure standing just beyond the camera's range. The metadata says every clip is recorded exactly 10:47 p.m., no matter when it arrives. And in every one of them, the reflection on the door handle seems to lean a little closer, like someone waiting for me to relieve them from their shift. That was a simple but complete replacement. The Royal Meridian was supposed to be closed, but from the outside it still looked alive. Light bled through curtains on the upper floors, faint, irregular, like someone pacing with a lantern. They said no one had entered since the investigation shut it down. Yet the revolving doors moved in slow, ghostly turns as if pushed by invisible guests. I parked across the street and waited for the city to exhale. Then I crossed the rain-slicked pavement and slipped inside. The lobby was colder than memory. The chandeliers hung unlit, their crystals trembling slightly, catching the faint hum of the generators that shouldn't have been running. The security desk still bore the dust print of a uniform sleeve, Chin Bo's station. His chair faced the monitors, but the screens were blank. Every one of them. Except one. Monitor number 6 flickered, cycling through static until it stabilized on the 14th floor corridor. The timestamp read 10:47 p.m., the time that stalked every report, every file, every whisper. A faint outline crossed the screen. A figure holding something in his right hand, a flashlight, maybe. Or a keycard. Then the feed blinked. The figure turned toward the camera. It was me. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. The monitor returned to static. I hadn't even been upstairs yet. I switched on my recorder. Entry confirmed, 22:18 hours, I said, trying to sound calm. Security feed displaying temporal loop. Possible pre-recorded distortion. But the words felt useless. The air inside that lobby didn't carry sound the way it should. It absorbed it, thick like velvet. The elevator panel was dark. I pried open the doors and climbed the emergency stairs, counting every echo. The climb to the 14th floor took minutes that felt like miles. At the landing, a faint glow seeped under the fire door, the same sickly yellow tone as in the leaked footage. I pushed through. The corridor stretched silent, the wallpaper peeled like drying skin. The brass number plates glimmered faintly under the emergency lights. 1410, 1412. 1414. The door to 1414 stood ajar. Inside, the room had been stripped. No bed. No drapes. No furniture. Just outlines on the carpet where things used to be. But on the wall opposite the door, something new, a black square where the paint had been cut away. Embedded in the plaster was a lens. A hidden camera. I pulled it out gently. It was still warm. A noise rippled from the corridor, the sound of a key turning. I froze. A soft electronic beep followed, the kind used by keycards. Someone else was here. I ducked behind the half-torn curtain, peering through the gap. A man in a dark maintenance uniform stepped inside, head down, face obscured by a mask. He carried a small case and a coiled cable. He walked straight to the wall, to the hole I'd just left, and plugged something into the exposed wire. "System online," he murmured. The air shimmered. A faint blue projection flared to life on the wall, security footage looping silently. Chunbo standing in that same corridor, flashlight trembling. The technician reached into his case and pulled out a tablet. On its screen, a list of archived camera tags appeared. One file blinked red, 1414_live. "Who are you?" I asked, stepping out. He turned, startled, or pretending to be. "Maintenance," he said quickly. "I'm just restoring the line." "That system's been dead for months," I said. "You're not hotel staff." He hesitated, then exhaled. "They told me to clean the continuity feed." "Continuity?" He nodded toward the tablet. "Everything you saw, the morgue call, the guard, the loops, it's all one sequence. Part of an ongoing data project. The footage regenerates itself every cycle." "Regenerates?" He looked at me, eyes wide. "You don't delete continuity. You just move it forward." Before I could reply, his tablet flickered violently. The blue projection expanded, filling the wall, not footage this time, but live feed. The corridor outside. Someone was walking toward the door. I turned off my flashlight. The projection brightened, tracking the figure as it neared. The face wasn't clear, just motion and shadow. The technician started backing away. "Who's in that feed?" I asked. He shook his head. "It's not a who. It's the next frame." "What do you mean?" He pointed at the door. "Don't open it." But the handle turned anyway. The door eased open without sound. The hallway behind it was empty, or should have been. Yet my own reflection stared back from the polished brass of the number plate. Only, in the reflection, my lips were moving. The technician bolted. His footsteps vanished mid-stride, as if the floor swallowed them. I turned to follow, but the room stretched. Each step forward lengthened the distance instead of closing it. The projection flickered again. Chunbo appeared on the wall, walking the same hallway, flashlight in hand. His lips moved too. I stepped closer. For the first time, I heard his voice clearly. "Scene restoration complete. Observer acknowledged." The image blinked. His flashlight beam hit the lens, and for a split second, the light wasn't coming from the wall. It was behind me. I spun around. The same beam burned through the curtain's fabric. Someone was standing on the other side, holding the flashlight exactly the way Chin had in the footage. I lunged forward, Ripped the curtain aside. Nothing. Only the wall, and a faint outline of a handprint burned into the wallpaper. The emergency alarm suddenly shrieked through the floor. Red lights bathed the hallway. I stumbled back into the corridor. Every door on the 14th floor had opened an inch, perfectly aligned, as though invited. A wind rose, not from the vents, but from within the walls themselves, carrying a sound halfway between a whisper and a recording glitch. Continuity, continuity, continuity. Then the power died. For a moment, the darkness was total. Then one door slammed shut. 1414. And behind it, a phone began to ring. I didn't answer it. I ran. Down the stairs, through the lobby, into the night. When I looked back from the street, the upper floors were dark again. Only one window glowed faintly, the same room, 1414, its curtains moving as if someone was watching. When I reviewed my recorder later, every sound from the hotel was present, footsteps, static, breathing, but layered under it all was a faint voice. My own. Entry confirmed, 22:18 hours. Continuity restored.